Hey everybody, it's Sharon here from VidGamiac.com. Here we are today starting the new title update for the Excrawlers, and we're going to go for the Reach the Boss achievement. So, we're going to pick up where we left off last time, which is going to be in the first sanctuary. I am going to recommend you try to get your levels up a little bit before you tackle the first boss. There is going to be an achievement for reaching level 10, so might as well take advantage of the easy enemies in the early areas of the game. So make sure you stay around here and level grind a bit. Make sure you are putting your power-ups into melee damage and vampirism, as doing a lot of damage and having the ability to heal yourself is going to be super duper important. Nonetheless, once you are ready to start tackling the boss, you're going to need to get to it first. In order to do that, you're going to need to clear the first two screens of the first area. Now, to clear a screen, you're going to have these X's on your mini-map, and then once you head over there, you're going to be at an enemy encampment. You're going to have a banner in the middle, which you can set on fire by hitting the B button. Once you do that, it's going to start this little horde mode segment where you are going to have to survive 2 waves. First wave is going to consist of a bunch of melee enemies and a couple of ranged enemies, and the second wave is going to be a bunch of ranged enemies and then 1 heavy. So I'm personally going to recommend for any wave that you take out the ranged guys first and then work on the melee guys. Once you take care of the encampment, you're going to get a treasure chest. Make sure you hit the B button to open it, and that's going to give you access to 1 of 3 perks. Just make sure you pick one that suits your playstyle. You should have access to the selected perk until you either die or until you beat the boss of the area. Nonetheless, after picking your perk, you're going to make your way over to the next enemy encampment. Feel free to ignore all of the enemies along the way, as you only need to take care of the ones spawned by the encampment in order to clear the screen. So make sure you take care of that. Head on over here. Once you are ready, make sure you hit the B button to burn the banner, and then start the next waves of enemies. Now, do keep in mind, every time you die, you're going to be sent back to the sanctuary, and you are going to have to do the encampments over again. You are going to keep your level progression, however, as well as any items that you have picked up, but you are going to lose all but 3 health potions, as well as any perks that you have on you. So make sure you do keep that in mind if you are trying to spec out a certain build. There is also going to be a pair of side quests that you can take on while in the first area, so feel free to do those. You are going to get equipment items as rewards, so feel free to take those up if you want those little extras. They aren't going to be totally necessary, though. So, that being said, just focus on the encampments if you are trying to get to the boss as soon as possible, and hopefully you're going to get some good perks along the way. If you are struggling at any point, feel free to stop and just level grind. You can just keep getting your stats higher and then just eventually overpower all of the enemies eventually, and then just move on when you are ready to do so. Always remember, the best things to put your level ups into are going to be melee damage and vampirism, and putting your stats into those 2 things should get you super far into the game, regardless of your perk setup. Here we are in the second area, and it's going to be the exact same thing. Make sure you head over to the 2 X's, and make sure you take care of the 2 enemy encampments. So B button to burn the banner, and then get ready for the onslaught that is coming your way. Now, whenever dealing with these enemy waves, you're going to have this barrier that pops up. You aren't going to be allowed to pass through the barrier, however, enemies can come through the barrier. So if there are going to be a bunch of enemies who are aggroed on you as you're making your way to the encampment, try to take care of them before they can get into the area. You definitely want to make sure that you aren't going to be overwhelmed with things that are going to be additional to the actual encampment. So make sure you try to take care of those before you actually get into here and then have to deal with the ton of enemies coming your way. Now, when it comes to perks, the perks are going to be random. However, if you want suggestions, I'm going to recommend anything that gives your melee attacks more damage or gives you a nice status condition to inflict on the enemies. Try to avoid anything that is not going to adhere to your playstyle. So, for example, if you are avoiding using the bow and arrow, I recommend skipping out on any of the arrow-related perks. Also, I am going to recommend that you try to destroy all of the containers around the encampments, as you definitely want to be keeping an eye out for health potions, as they are going to be few and far between. And once again, healing yourself is going to be very important in this game. And of course, that is going to be one of the main reasons why you want to dump most of your level ups into the vampirism stat, as again, healing yourself is going to be super important, and health potions are going to be pretty few and far between. As for the actual combat, I am going to recommend that you rely on your dash, as it's going to be a really good tool to dodge enemy attacks. Be very careful not to pin yourself in a corner, though, especially whenever dealing against the heavy. The heavy is going to do a ton of damage, and if you are pinned to the wall, you are going to have the day end badly for you, so try to avoid that at all means. Nonetheless, once you clear your fourth encampment, you're going to open up your chest and then get your fourth perk. Hopefully, it is going to be something super duper useful. Then the final door of the area is going to open. Make sure you step on through, and that's going to take you to the boss room. Make sure you proceed forward and then start the boss fight. As soon as you are into it, you should be good for your achievement. It's going to be for 200 gamer score, and just as a little bonus, we are also going to cover how to defeat the boss, since we need to move on to the next area in order to get the next slew of achievements. So the boss is going to start out by firing a ton of fireballs at us. Just make sure you try to navigate in either direction through the gaps. Once there's a break in the fire, make sure you stand behind the boss and start slashing it to death here. Hopefully you have leveled up yourself or have some really nice perks to work with, and then once you have landed significant damage, it's going to unleash another salvo of fireballs. Try to navigate around those as well. Then it's going to spawn some minions. If this happens, just make sure you back up and then try to destroy them, then continue to work on the boss. If they put up some more fireballs, just make sure you keep navigating through those gaps, but just make sure you keep dodging them and then get behind the boss and keep slashing it to death, and then eventually you should take it out, unlocking the next area. That should wrap up the first area, but of course we are going to have more achievements to work on once we get to the second area, so stay tuned for those. But that's it for now, and that's all there is to it.